Welcome back to another video. So this will be a follow-up for the Mini Cooper scene. As you can see over here, the car model will look like this, and this texture over here for the number plate will be with pink. This is because the file hasn't been packed, so actually that JPEG file has not been attached to the scene. Now let's see how we can easily convert that. If I will go with shading at the top and I will select that number, we're going to see that this is a JPEG file. It was called NO, and all that I have to do is just to add that number. So I will just go, for example, over here from desktop Mini Cooper, and I will drag and drop this, and I will just replace that over here. And as we can see, the number will be perfectly aligned. This is because that surface has already been unwrapped, so keep that in mind. Now, regarding the follow-up, this will be regarding how we can split elements in order to animate them. And for the case study, I will want to open this door. So if I will just select, let me just enable the screencast so you can see what I'm pressing. If I will select the body of the car and I will press G in order to grab it, we're going to see that everything will be within a single mesh. So in order to split those, I will press Tab. This will take me to edit mode. I will also press A to select everything, even though everything was in this case selected. I will press afterwards P in order to separate, and I want to separate this using loose parts. So just press Tab again, and you're going to see that, for example, the door will be its unique element over here. Now, regarding the glass, if I will select this, we're going to see that the mesh will look like this. So keep that in mind that we have one mesh over here for the interior and one for the exterior. So I'll just Ctrl Z to have that taken back to position. For this material, I will delete it and I will create a new one. I will call this glass. And I want to add an alpha to this one, so that I can see through that glass. So just change that alpha over here. I will apply the same material for the front and also for the back. Now, the windshield over here, this will be just one component, so we don't have to work with that. But over here, we're going to see that it will be linked. So the front wind and the one in the back will be merged, and we want to open this door and also have that window follow. So the first thing that we need to do is for this door to change the pivot point. You're going to see the pivot point will currently be that orange dot, and we need to change that. We can easily change it by just holding down Shift key and by right clicking. For example, I will put the pivot point somewhere in front of the car, but this will just take the 3D cursor. The pivot point has still remained over there, so we need to go to Object, Set Origin, and you want the origin to be moved to the 3D cursor. And as soon as I will click on this, we're going to see that that small orange dot has been translated over here. Now if I want to do a rotation around the Z-axis, we're going to see that the door will open and it will turn and rotate against that center. So in order to make the door open, I will just press numpad 3. This will take me to the right orthographic view over here, and I will zoom in and I will hold down Shift and right click somewhere over here in front of this. And now we'll go back to Object, Set Origin, Origin to 3D cursor. And now if I want to rotate, we're going to see that the door will rotate like this. So within the follow-up, we want to merge and link the components so that when I will open the door, I will also want the door handle to follow along. So if I will select the door handle and press G, we're going to see that all of those elements and ornaments are linked together. So the same as before, I will just press Tab to go to edit mode, A to select everything, P and separate by loose parts. And now we're going to see that I can manipulate the handle individually. So over here we're going to have 3 meshes, so one for the handle, one for the retain of the handle, and that will again be linked. So select that as well. That will be linked with the bottom element. So Tab, A, P by loose parts. And now that should be individual. And we should have the same over here for that locking knob over there, so we see that as well. For the mirror, we're going to see that they will be linked together, so the same workflow, tab A, P, separate by loose parts. So we have those over here. For the cover of the view mirror over here, that will be linked with the roof. So again, do the same by loose parts and move that. Now, we can select multiple elements and have them linked to the same object. This will be a child-parent link. That means that if I'm going to make the parent to be the door, if all of those elements, for example, from the mirror over here will be linked as children to this part, if I will just rotate this, those will move as well. So let's take a look at how we can do that. Initially, we just need to select those elements, and we can hold down Shift to add multiple elements. And over here, I will also select that outline, the mirror, and the cap over here. And the last object that will be selected will be the door. So hold down Shift, click on that. And now in order to define a parent, I'm going to press Ctrl P on the keyboard, and we're going to set the parent to be object with keep transform. And that's everything that we need to do for those elements. If I will select it, press R and Z, we're going to see how those will also rotate. Now we see the model over here as it has been designed. We're going to have that overlap on the interior, but we are not going to discuss about modeling within this video. So I just press Ctrl Z, always go back to the original position, so you can start doing the additional links over here. Now for the door handle, I will select the exterior, afterwards that inner element, afterwards those two, and the last one will be again the door. Press Ctrl P, keep transform, and if I'm going to rotate this, we're going to see that those will also move as well. Now for the glass over here, we're going to see that if I will just press tab A, P by loose parts, we're actually going to have one for the left side, as we see the car over here, and one for the right side. But we actually need to subdivide this, so only the glass that will be linked to this door will move. So the one for the one in the back, even though this doesn't have a door over here, it should also only move this window with that door. So to do that, we're going to do a different separation. So select the element, press tab, and over here we can do a grow selection. And we're going to see that we're going to take this all the way over here, even though the mesh will be like this. So we're going to have a gap over here. One workaround would be to correct this and move the glass to the back. But for this, it will require additional work. So something like this. I don't encourage you to do it, but if you want to do this glass separation, keep in mind that you should also work with the geometry over here. We still have some elements over here, so I can also select that edge. I can press on Command Numpad, select those two, and move them over here. And now we see that the window will be hidden over here within that frame. Over here at the top we still have 2 points, so go back to vertex selection by pressing 1, select those two and move them a little bit to the back. But keep in mind that you should only move this one. So I also selected that by mistake, so I undo and I recreated that selection. Over here as well, grab on the y-axis, and we still have 2 edges over here, so that one and that one. Grab them on the y-axis and move them over here. Okay, and now since we know that we want to split this half of the glass, we can do the following. I can select one element over here, for example this face, and afterwards I will do a grow selection by going and pressing Ctrl and plus. If you don't have the numpad, let's see, Over here, if I will go with the plus from the top, this will not work, so you will need to go to select, more or less, and this will be more or less. And we see that in this case, this will be the section of the glass that we want to split. We check that it will go the way over here. Afterwards, I will press P, isolate by selection in this case, and that means I can just select this and move it. And I will just link it to the door by selecting this, afterwards the door, holding down Shift, press Ctrl P, and I will keep the transformation. And now if I will open the door, that glass should also follow along. So let's see, Ctrl P, keep transform. And we see that it actually moves. But over here we have, since we have this opacity set like that, we are not really seeing that. So let's do this again. I'm actually going to see that we're still going to have an additional layer of that glass, because this glass is double-sided when it has been modeled. Therefore, we only link the exterior to follow this. So I will just select the exterior, and if I press H, this will hide it. And now we have an additional glass to the back. So select that, press tab to go to edit mode. Again, we can do that selection. You can also change this geometry, but currently I see that this is already in position because I grabbed both points initially when I change that. So just do that selection, press P to separate the selection, and now just link that as well to the door. And we're going to see that now everything will follow along. Now, all that we have to do further is to also link the components from the interior. So to do that, I will select and hide that glass, windshield. And we're going to see for the interior, we're going to have the following elements. So everything will be nested over there. Press Tab, A, P, by loose parts. And let's check the other ornaments. Over here, that will be the interior. You can also select the top, and we're going to see over here, we're going to do another by loose parts. I will hide the top, also the secondary top element, and these will be the elements from the inside. So let's start and selecting those. For the ornaments, we're going to see that this should be also linked, otherwise we are going to link the center elements and the one on the right side. So press Tab, A, P, by loose parts. And it's a good idea to verify that all the required elements have been splitted. So in this case, I see that all have already been splitted. This as well, so this is linked with the chair, so separate those by loose parts. So this one and that one. Okay, and now I can do a large selection like this that will grab everything associated with that. And I can just hold down Control and extract elements from that selection. If you're going to press on the slash button, that will give you an isolation only of the selected elements, so you can start removing additional elements. You can press that twice. You see that in this case there is something as well over here that is linked together, and that has removed that selection. So let me just check this to see if there are any other linked elements, because I see that there currently aren't, but for some reason when I try to do that separation, that isolation from the extract, one of those elements has still been linked. So that's quite weird. So let's just redo this selection. I will select those. I will do it manually, because in this case it's a little bit easier. So we still have that ornament, that, so the speaker over here, and that as well. If I will grab those, we're going to see that this will be for the interior. I also want this locking system to be added. Okay, so overall those should be the elements, and just keep in mind that the last elements that you are going to select will be the door. Press Ctrl P, transform, and now we can open the door on the z-axis. It will go like this. So we also have the interior, and we also have this header element that I want to link. So R and Z. And we have an additional element over here, which is this one. That should be divided. So I will do the following selection. I will go over here within line. I will select that. And I will press Ctrl plus to expand it. Something like this, and the one on the back, I don't want to have those added. So I will just remove those while holding down Ctrl. But I also want to add those. And over here we're going to see that we're going to have additional geometry, just like for the window, that we should initially modify the position so we can do the whole selection over here. Because if I will just add that, it will add a lot more over here. So I'm just going to select this loop over here. I will hold down Alt and click it once on the edge. That will give me the entire loop selection, and I will just move it on the y-axis like this. And now if I will do the same selection over here with a plus, it should grow like this. Once again, like that. And I'm just going to remove over here this and that. So it's a little bit trickier because the model hasn't been that well defined, so we can just work with the geometries, but this is why I'm using this case study model, because we are also going to learn some elements regarding modeling. So now I'm going to press P and I want to separate this selection. And if I will just select that and press Ctrl P to parent it, we're going to see how that will follow along. And now we're still going to have this. So we have an additional geometry over there that still requires to be linked. So this one, I will select that, Ctrl P. So not Ctrl P, just P simple, because we are already over here. And now with that element, link it over here. And we should be able to move that. So if I will press Alt and H, that will unhide everything. And now we can check how we can open that door. We're going to see how that door will open over here. We still have some edges over here that have been moved during that. And we see the shading over here. It's a little bit different. So if I will press Tab, this will be without edit mode, this will be within edit mode. I can also do a loop selection over here. In this case, I can select those. As you can see, they will not be linked within this object. These are the assets. I can just select and right click and I will join those two together. And now they should go back to their original state. We still have a different opacity material, and that was the main difference. It should look like this without that. Okay, so overall this is how you can animate and link components within Blender. I set over here the geometry and the shading still is visible for this element. And let me try to do a grow selection. In this case I will have that copied and deleted. I'm still going to have some edges remaining. So let me just select those, delete the edges, that over here as well. Okay, I will just select that, isolate it, go to a side view, and let's take a look at the geometry over here. So if I will do a selection like this, and I will delete the vertices, it will look like that. So now I will just select those and extrude them on the axis over here. So I want this to be an extrusion along the normals. So I will extrude that over here. I will leave that isolation, and I will extrude this once again. So this should extrude along the normals. This will not be on a specific axis, and since the door is open, it's a little bit trickier to position that. But I will draw it like this. So once over here, once over here, and that should be it. And now I'm just gonna slightly move it into position. So this way it's a little bit trickier if you move the geometry. I wanted to fix those visual elements that were over there. Okay, over here I need to make sure that I will select everything. So press undo before that scaling. And this should look like this. Select the top vertices. You can also enable X-ray so we can better see what's happening over here. And we can just move those a little bit over here. And that will be the cadre in this case. So yeah, keep in mind that if you are also going to try to modify the shape of that, you may encounter some elements, some problems. As you can see over here, I still have some floating vertices that I will just delete because those are no longer needed. And this is how we can work with elements within Blender. And I encourage you to do the same for the other door, so that will be a good practice, and maybe over here for the trunk and for the hood as well. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this kind of content. I will position a similar video over here on the left side, and I will also add a subscribe button to the right. So that's it. Thanks for watching.